When people think of Australia, a few common things usually come to mind: kangaroos, vast landscapes, and even the myth about toilets flushing in the opposite direction. But this massive continent holds far more secrets than most realize. From mysterious creatures to intoxicated parrots, here are 15 of the strangest discoveries recently made in Australia. Number 15. Enormous arachnid. This isn't your average spider, and it's not the spider from Charlotte's Web. This massive spider was found in the folds of a curtain in a home in Australia. It's probably not the first thing that you want to find when moving a curtain to let some sun into the room, but unfortunately for one TikToker, this was the reality. As you can see in the video, the spider can be seen crawling on the homeowner's bedroom curtain. The reaction by social media users was that of expected horror. 8 legs have never looked so scary. One commenter even said that they'd rather move out than deal with that spider. We don't blame them. Look at the size of that thing. When the TikToker tried to get rid of it by shaking the curtain, it only seemed to send the spider into a hiding spot. Here's to hoping that TikToker got rid of that spider somehow. Now we know that kangaroos aren't the only quick things you can find in Australia. Number 14. Kookaburra tug of war. There's a reason that Alfred Hitchcock made that movie about birds, and it's because sometimes they're not the friendliest. Sure, they're small, look majestic when they're flying, and overall are usually harmless. But now and then you have an exception. Today, we want to talk about one exception where an Australian TikToker shared the moment that a bird approached him and then started to take his food. It looks like birds don't only know how to fly, but they also know how to convince someone that they're harmless because the bird then got away with the food like it did nothing wrong. Luckily, the TikTok user had a friend who tried to get the meat right back from the bird, but it seemed that even the friend was struggling because eventually, the friend gave up and let the birds have their way. Not surprisingly, this TikTok video racked up over 14,000 likes and hit over 234,000 views in only a few days. It looks like people are just as interested in birds stealing food as birds are interested in stealing food themselves. This video was one of the reasons why it's advised to not feed native birds, because not only do they come for food, but it can severely impact their health. As far as this video goes, the bird was going to have the food no matter what was advised. Number 13. Pink Lake. In the city, Starbucks has its pink drink, and Australia has its pink Westgate Park Salt Lake. You heard us right. This lake turns pink. When people see this oddity, it almost looks like an Instagram filter. If you didn't see it up close for yourself, you might think that someone doctored the photo. But in all reality, this lake is pink. It almost veers into a reddish color. You don't have to go deep into the park to see it either. If you're one of the commuters in Melbourne, you'll be able to see it on the Westgate Bridge. Most people have 2 assumptions when seeing this lake. The first assumption is that it's beautiful and a marvel of nature. The second is that maybe a toxic spill filled the lake, causing it to have its red hue. The truth of the matter is that it falls under the former. The pink coloring is caused by a natural phenomenon, and it comes from the term salt lake because the salt is the culprit. Now, you probably won't get this effect if you put a lot of salt in your water, but for whatever reason, this lake turns pink when the levels of salt in the water are higher than usual. But it's not just salt, it's a mix of high temperature, the sun beaming down, and where there isn't a lot of rainfall that creates the perfect storm of a pink lake. When all these ingredients mix, it's the algae that are growing in the salt lake crust that produces the red pigment that you see at the top of the lake. It's called beta-carotene, and if you've ever heard of photosynthesis, that's what it's a part of. People started noticing this phenomenon in December and January of 2013. Since then, the lake has turned pink every summer, and luckily, this phenomenon is harmless. It won't hurt you or any of the wildlife around it. So, if you're tired of going to the beach this summer, take a trip to Melbourne and check out the pink lake. Number 12. Chatty Myna bird. We here at the Supreme Love Birds, you'll be able to tell that by the end of this video. But first, we want to talk to you about a bird that speaks better than most animals in this category. We're talking about the Chatty Myna bird. This isn't your average pigeon. That's because this bird can speak more than 100 words and more than 30 sentences. In addition to being able to speak better than most animals, these types of birds are popular pets, and they come from Africa, India, and Southeast Asia. Much like starlings, they come from the Stunidae family of birds. Certain types of these birds can be found in tree canopies, but you can also often find them in grassland areas inhabited by humans. This is probably why they picked up their language. Hopefully, the humans weren't saying any swear words. Before they were talking pets, they had a long history. They were once kept by the higher-ups in Greece. Not only that, over in India, these birds were considered sacred. So, once you get past the fact that these birds can speak pretty well, you'll probably find yourself a friend to the end because, over time, they've always been a friend to humans, especially farmers. They've been known to eat insects that would otherwise ruin crops. So, they're not only birds that can speak well, but they're also birds that help. Just don't expect them to help with your English homework. Number 11. Drunk parrots. Let's talk about drunk parrots. You think that parrots do enough human stuff with their ability to repeat words, but that's not all they do. They can also apparently get wasted because a type of parrot known as a lorikeet is now getting drunk on fermented weeping bourbean tree nectar. And that's not all they're doing. These drunk birds are screeching louder than usual. But don't worry, they're not going to be in your backyard, and they're not necessarily getting drunk off whiskey. These birds are located in Adelaide's Botanic Garden. They're getting drunk on fermented nectar because it has the same effects alcohol has on humans. It ferments into alcohol, and the strength can equate to the alcohol levels of beer. The birds that wind up getting drunk also wind up at the animal hospital because they're unable to stand or fly. This usually happens in the later months of the year. Some ornithologists have even coined it the drunken parrot season. Aside from the birds getting drunk and sick, it's also problematic for people around these birds at the time of their drunken behavior because this behavior is already loud. When they get drunk, they become so loud that it's almost unbearable to the neighboring residents in the area. But it's kind of cool to think about how humans aren't the only ones who want to have a good time. Drink responsibly, folks. Number 10. Kangaroo golf. Golf isn't like baseball or football. There's a level of quietness and attention that's involved. You need to be able to focus in a quiet area so that you don't miss your swing or mess up your swing. Golf courses are usually serene and peaceful. This is why it's pretty much out of the ordinary when a mob of nosy kangaroos swarmed the fairway just as golfer Wendy Peck was teeing off. That's right, while Wendy was in the middle of her game, the kangaroos came out of nowhere, and there was a dozen of them. She had been waiting to tee off when the kangaroos just randomly flooded the fairway. At first, she thought it was just one or two, but then more appeared from the trees, creating a bizarre and unexpected spectacle. Some of them paused to observe the golfers, seemingly unfazed by the presence of humans. Others hopped playfully around the course, weaving between bunkers and flagsticks as if they were participating in their own version of the game. Wendy, understandably hesitant, stood frozen for a moment, unsure whether to take her shot or retreat. The other golfers watched in amusement, taking out their phones to capture the unusual scene. Eventually, the kangaroos seemed to lose interest, casually hopping away as quickly as they had arrived. The incident left Wendy with a once-in-a-lifetime golf story that she could laugh about later, even if it did momentarily throw off her concentration. Luckily for her, they didn't want much. There was a bit of a stare-down, and then they went along their way. Given how feisty kangaroos can be, we can't blame Wendy for being a little shaken up after that. But it's a testament to how much she loves golf because she went right back to her game after they left. Maybe next time, they'll do more than just stare at her and help her with her swing. Now it's time for today's topic. In a quiet coastal town in Australia, a local fisherman stumbled upon what might be the discovery of a lifetime. While hauling his net from the deep waters near the Great Barrier Reef, he noticed an unusually heavy catch. What emerged was a fish unlike anything he had ever seen, a creature with spiny fins, sharp teeth, and an almost alien-like appearance. The fish's massive, bulbous eye and intricate patterns of iridescent scales left the fisherman both awestruck and unnerved. Marine biologists were quick to respond after the fisherman shared his catch with the local authorities. Initial examinations revealed that the fish does not match any known species, prompting speculation that it might be an entirely new discovery. The creature's unique anatomy, including its retractable barbs and snake-like appendage near its mouth, suggests it might have evolved in the unexplored depths of the ocean. Experts are now analyzing the fish's DNA to trace its origins. Some theorize it could be a deep-sea dweller brought to the surface by recent tectonic activity, while others speculate it might be a long-lost species thought to be extinct. One thing is certain, this discovery highlights how little we truly know about the mysteries of the ocean depths. Number 9. Skull Island. Are you a fan of King Kong? If you are, then we've got a good and unbelievable story. There's a place called Skull Island, but don't worry, there won't be a giant gorilla coming out of this one. Right out of Williamstown, Australia, this unique rock formation makes it look like the island itself is a skull. It's a pretty cool aesthetic. Some would even call it a little spooky. It was called Cleft Island before, but we think the name Skull Island fits it just as well. It's a small yet remarkable granite island that sits just off the coast of Australia. More specifically, the island lies inside the Wilson's Promontory National Park. It wasn't just born as Skull Island, it's a pretty cool reason for it. The island formed a skull shape due to being battered by high winds and ancient waves. You can even see this 130-meter wide, 60-meter tall cave-like rock from the coast, but you would need a boat to take it all in. Just because this island looks cool, that doesn't mean there isn't a bit of significance behind it. Skull Island happens to be the breeding ground for a great number of seabirds. In addition to the birds, there's also a seal colony, which makes this location one of the most fascinating parts of Australia. As much as people know about this, there's still a lot that's up in the air about how this island came to be. One interesting fact is that there have been more people on the moon than there have been on the island itself. To be more specific, only 9 have been there. So, maybe King Kong is living inside of it somewhere. Number 8. Gimpy pain plant. A plant that makes humans go mad. It sounds like something straight out of a comic book, but this is no science fiction. The gimpy pain plant can be quite dangerous, and its sting can drive humans to the brink of madness. When you look at this green, leafy plant, it almost looks like a heart, and you can usually find it in the rainforest areas of northeastern Australia. They've also been spotted in the Moluccas and Indonesia. It may look like a benign plant, but everyone should be wary because, when you look up close, it's covered in what looks like fine hair and stinging needles. These needles contain a powerful neurotoxin that causes pain that's pretty much unbearable. There's also some extreme itching involved, but it's not your average itching. This itching hurts, and it's even been known to kill dogs and horses. When we say humans go mad with this pain, it's not hallucinating or anything like that. It's just that the agony is so bad that they actually go crazy, hoping that it goes away or is a quick death. That might be the case because this plant is so persistent that it's been known to torture victims for 12 months straight. Luckily, if you remove the hairs, this may not be the case. You might want to go to a doctor for this. We definitely encourage you to just avoid the plant altogether. Maybe opt for a house cactus instead. Number 7. Meteorite older than Earth. Imagine being on Earth but also being older than it. That doesn't make much sense, does it? But this is the case for an ancient meteorite found in Australia's Lake Eyre. When researchers analyzed it, that's just what they found. The meteorite was older than Earth itself. These Australian researchers retrieved the meteorite, believed to be around 4.5 billion years old. It had to be removed from the lake bed. Talk about old. Scientists believe this meteorite may have come from the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, a region filled with remnants of the early solar system. Studying its composition could provide insight into the building blocks that eventually formed Earth and the other planets. The rock's pristine condition made it an invaluable find, as it had not been contaminated by modern atmospheric elements. Researchers conducted isotope analysis to determine its exact age, revealing that it had been traveling through space for billions of years before crashing onto our planet. This discovery is a major breakthrough in understanding how meteorites influence planetary formation and how ancient cosmic materials can survive the harsh journey through space. One theory suggests that meteorites like this one may have even delivered essential organic compounds to early Earth, contributing to the origins of life. This meteorite got to partying as it was retrieved on New Year's Eve with great timing because, in a matter of hours, the rain would have washed it away. Imagine living on Earth for 4.5 billion years and then washing away just like that. Luckily, the researchers found it in time. Aside from trying to beat the rain on New Year's Eve, retrieving the meteorite was no easy feat. Curtin University geologists Phil Bland and Robert Howie used remote cameras to track the meteorite over time. These weren't just Polaroid cameras. These cameras were called the Desert Fireball Network, and they helped to cover a lot of land. The whole process took 3 days and even involved an aerial spider drone. When Phil was asked by the Australian Broadcasting Corp, he said it was an amazing team effort. We got there by the skin of our teeth. So, the next time you feel old, at least you know you're not older than Earth like this meteorite. Number 6. Chicken tweets. You've probably recognized that the Twitter logo over the years is a bird, but what would you say if we told you that an animal in the bird family could write a tweet? We're talking about a chicken, and that chicken's name is Betty. The Australian chicken isn't just sending tweets to her favorite celebrities. She's going for a Guinness World Record. So what's this all about? Betty belongs to an Australian chicken shop that lets Betty tweet out from their account. Now, we should probably admit that the chicken isn't writing Shakespeare. The tweets may form words, but they're not decipherable in any language. The way Betty tweets is actually quite amusing. The store set up a special keyboard inside her coop, and every time she pecks at the keys, a tweet is generated and posted directly to the Chicken Treat Twitter account. While some tweets are complete gibberish, others have strangely resembled real words, making people wonder if Betty might be onto something. Social media users quickly caught on and began interacting with Betty's posts, with some even trying to decode her chicken language. As her popularity soared, the campaign turned into an interactive event, with people placing bets on what Betty's next tweet might be. There was even a moment when she came close to spelling an actual word, causing excitement among her followers. Despite the randomness of her tweets, Betty's antics have won over the internet, making her one of the most famous chickens online. Despite Betty's lack of being a wordsmith, people are still excited about the chicken's ability to tweet out to the world, because who doesn't love a chicken that can use social media? What exactly started the whole chicken tweeting situation? Well, the shop that's home to Betty, which is aptly named Chicken Treat, looks to gain some publicity for its business. Some would call it a marketing stunt, but that hasn't stopped people from loving Betty. And the shop isn't without some chicken typing goals. Aside from hopefully landing a Guinness World Record, Chicken Treat hopes to also get Betty to type out an actual 5-letter word. Until then, Be sure to look out for what Betty has to say on Twitter. We wonder if she'll be crossing the road anytime soon. Number 5. Jumping crocodiles. We hope you like crocodiles, and you're not afraid of them because this won't be the first time we'll be talking about them on this list. But this time around, we'll be talking about the jumping crocodiles, to be specific, and yeah, that's right, they jump. They're known as the famous Darwin jumping crocodiles, and they're found in the Adelaide River, about 70 kilometers down from the Arnhem Highway. So, how do you see these famous jumping crocodiles? You can take a cruise, and it's this cruise that's made these crocodiles as famous as they are. That's because the crocodiles jump by the boat. The sight is both thrilling and terrifying as these massive reptiles launch their powerful bodies out of the water, snapping their jaws shut with bone-crushing force. Some of the crocodiles that make an appearance on these cruises are well known, with tour guides giving them names and recognizing them by their scars and markings. The most dominant males, often over 5 meters long, put on the most spectacular displays, showing off their strength as they leap for their meal. Scientists believe that this behavior mimics how they catch birds or bats that come too close to the river's surface. Despite their intimidating nature, these cruises have helped dispel myths about crocodiles, educating tourists about their role in the ecosystem and the importance of conservation. However, experts warn that feeding crocodiles in the wild can lead to dangerous human-crocodile interactions, so strict regulations are in place to ensure the safety of both the crocs and the spectators. While on the cruise, you get to see them in their natural habitat. A lot of times, they've been encouraged to jump with the help of feeding by hand. These cruises have been around for quite a while. It was started in 1985 by a couple of crocodile hunters who grew frustrated with not finding crocs on their hunt, and then it became illegal anyway. So, they started the tour working around the legality of hunting crocs. Since then, the crocodile population has reverted to the one that was once seen in pre-European numbers. This means finding crocodiles is hard. This tour helps to bring awareness to crocs while also still allowing the public to see them. It's a win-win. If you want to see some prehistoric beasts jump out of the water by your boat, take one of these cruises. You probably won't regret it. Number 4. Sushi robots. At some point, we've all done it, thinking about the future and imagining what technology will be there that'll blow our minds. So far, science fiction hasn't disappointed. People have invented jetpacks, devices that connect to satellites in space, and even glasses that connect to the internet. Now, we bring you sushi robots. Located at Sushi Train Wellen Plaza in China, here you'll find a sushi train that has 2 robots that serve sushi. They come right up to your table with big smiles on their faces. Well, on their digital faces, at least. These robots are programmed to take orders, deliver plates, and even engage in basic conversations with customers using preset voice responses. They add a fun, futuristic element to the dining experience, making customers feel like they've stepped into a sci-fi movie. Each robot is equipped with AI learning capabilities, meaning they can improve their efficiency over time based on customer interactions. The restaurant has also programmed them to recognize regular patrons, offering personalized greetings to enhance the experience. Some customers have even reported that the robots can crack jokes, making the dining experience more interactive. Interestingly, the restaurant still keeps human staff members on hand to ensure everything runs smoothly and to handle tasks that require human finesse, like sushi preparation. So, if the technology wasn't cool enough, at least you can bet on some good, top-notch robot service. Even though these robots will be serving sushi, they're not going to be running through the store. The manager of the store claims that the robots will be working with humans hand in hand, meaning you won't have to worry about the robots spitting in your sushi. Surprisingly, this store isn't the first one to introduce robots to serve humans. There are quite a few stores in Queensland that use this technology. The robots that are used in Welland are known as the Chatty, and they were born in 2016. The way that they work is by using laser and visual dual navigation. They're able to detect obstacles, and this is how they were able to get from the kitchen to your table. Let's just hope they won't navigate from the kitchen to your home because that would be a little spooky. Then again, who wouldn't want some fresh sushi delivered by a robot? Number 3. Crocodile crosswalk. It's safe to say that it's a pretty amazing sight to see an alligator walking across any field of land. You know, when you see their heads popping up from the water, it's an extravagant sight to see. So, if just one creates such a vibe, then how about 70 at a time? It's been called the Crocodile Crosswalk, and no, it's not in Manhattan. Cahill's Crossing viewing area on the western bank of the East Alligator River is where you'll find sights that you won't see anywhere else. It's where crocodiles gather together, just throwing a party. And in the western bank, it's a pretty safe place to watch them all in the wild. The sheer number of crocodiles in one spot is what makes this place so unique, drawing in wildlife enthusiasts and photographers from all over the world. Some of the crocs seen here are absolutely massive, with some measuring over 16 feet long, making them some of the largest reptiles on the planet. While watching from a safe distance, Visitors are often amazed by how these giant predators effortlessly navigate the strong currents of the river. Despite their intimidating presence, they remain largely unbothered by human onlookers, too focused on their feast to pay much attention. The crossing itself can sometimes get blocked by the sheer number of crocodiles, creating a surreal traffic jam of reptilian giants. Occasionally, local fishermen will brave the waters, carefully maneuvering around the predators, hoping to catch some of the same fish that the crocs are feasting on. The reason that they're all gathered together at this location isn't actually because they want to throw a block party. They gather in large numbers around the causeway and then feed on mullet and barramundi. So, they pretty much gather to eat together, and this is one interesting dinner to watch. You'll have to time it right if you want to catch them doing it because it's a seasonal phenomenon, and it only really happens in the dry season. This is when the floodplains and other nearby waterways dry out, and then the freshwater flows from the headwaters of the East Alligator River. When you go, you can expect anywhere from 50 to 70 crocodiles at a time. They'll be busy eating their food, so you probably won't have to worry about them being hungry for you. If you want to be more specific, the best months to watch are from June to October, sometimes in November, but the peak is said to be in September. This is when the wet season begins. Number 2. Get off my lawn. We've all heard the joke about the old man telling someone to get off their lawn, but sometimes it happens in real life. This was the case when an Australian man interrupted Prime Minister Morrison, screaming those famous words, "Get off my lawn." To the man's credit, the Prime Minister was a little close. He hadn't just been angry and exaggerating. Now, to clarify, Prime Minister Scott Morrison wasn't exactly on his own. It was the onlookers at the press briefing that were trampling the man's property. And so, the man took it upon himself to scream those fateful words. This was in the middle of Prime Minister Morrison announcing his plan to offer subsidies on home renovations. Ironically, the press conference was about improving homes, yet this particular homeowner wanted nothing to do with the event. The moment quickly became viral, with social media users praising the man's determination to protect his well-maintained lawn. Some even joked that he was the real winner of the press briefing, successfully commanding the attention of an entire nation. Despite the awkward interruption, Morrison handled it with grace, signaling for his team and reporters to step back while offering a friendly apology. The press and audience chuckled, making the situation more lighthearted than confrontational. The incident also sparked debates about the importance of respecting private property, even during political events. In the end, the homeowner got his wish. His lawn was left undisturbed, and he earned himself a moment of unexpected internet fame. You would think that someone in his position could have been embarrassed or unnerved by the sudden call-out during the briefing, but he was pretty cool about it. In response to the man, he said, "Sure, let's move back from there. See? Not all interactions have to be hostile, even when you're standing on someone's lawn." Number 1. Australia's greatest athlete. Sometimes some sports go under the radar, but that doesn't mean that the sports aren't as impressive as the other ones out there. Have you ever heard of wood chopping? Well, it's a sport in Australia, and longtime Tasmanian woodchopper David Foster has finally been inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. This is a pretty strange feat, as David Foster has become the first woodchopper inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame, and he considers it a big achievement. The woodchopper was born on March 20th, 1957, and he's a former Australian world champion. He's held the championship for a whopping 21 consecutive years. If that's not impressive, he also has 1,000 titles. Some people don't even win 1,000 games of tic-tac-toe, let alone wood chopping. Foster's journey to success was built on relentless dedication, starting from a young age when he trained under his father, George Foster, who was also a legendary woodchopper. The sport itself is incredibly demanding, requiring immense strength, precision, and stamina to consistently split massive logs in mere seconds. At his peak, Foster could chop through a log in just a few powerful swings, making him a dominant force in competitions worldwide. Despite his physical prowess, he has also been known for his larger-than-life personality, often engaging with fans and inspiring young athletes to take up the sport. His influence in the wood chopping community extends beyond his victories, as he has worked tirelessly to promote and preserve the sport in Australia. In fact, he has even competed in charity events to raise funds and awareness for various causes, showcasing his commitment both to wood chopping and to giving back to society. It's an inspiring story for anyone looking to move up in the ranks of their sport. Anything's possible. The next time you find yourself chopping wood, think about David Foster, because he's proof that an athlete can come in all different shapes and sizes. Australia is a land of wonder and strange discoveries. While you may not stumble upon drunken parrots or set foot on Skull Island, that doesn't mean you won't encounter something unusual yourself. Keep an open mind, stay curious, and who knows, maybe the strangest discoveries will find you. See you in the next video.